Could you like say a little bit more about window of tolerance? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What is that?
Okay, so window tolerance. It's a beautiful window, and it contains what I can tolerate. Which, you know, I like to think is a lot of stuff I can handle, I can deal with it.
Yeah.
But some things just happen, like getting called off in traffic, where I just like that, this beautiful little window, sunny day, right? Birds are chirping.
Yeah.
I don't even know it's there.
Well, let's also hold space for the window being smaller. So that person on their drive home, they might not be like Jen right now in this moment with that really big, beautiful window.
Yeah.
Their window actually might be pretty fucking slim.
That's a really good point. Our window changes all the time too. So right now my window's big, so I'm talking to my bestie.
Yeah.
Right? But sometimes it's super small because I've had a long day.
Yeah.
There's been a lot piled onto my plate.
Yes.
And I just can't deal.
Yeah. So, like, what comes to my mind is the question of, like, why can't I handle this? Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, we talked about this in therapy. My therapist and I are going over this. Like, what the heck? Like, why can't I handle this?
Which leads us to our first episode.
Yeah.
Field Guide to Understanding the Whelms.
The overwhelms, the underwhelms, and then your regular everyday whelms. This is Ronnie.
This is Jen.
Hi.
Hey.
So, let's dive in.
All right, so when we're talking about overwhelmed, another word for that is hyperactivated.
Yeah.
And I definitely would say that the driving example is a hyperactivated example.
Absolutely.
However, there's a catch here. We are hypo-activated if we dissociate the rest of the drive home.
Yeah.
We were like, that was way too much. My day was already way too hard, and I almost got ran off the freaking road.
Yeah. No, I love that. I also think that when we are in hyper arousal, it's good to know that we're trying to bring ourselves like down.
And that's why we're yelling in the first place, right? We're trying to get back to a state of regulation.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to make, is that the things that we're doing, while they might not feel sensical in our post like remembrance of what has happened, they're doing a job. They're trying to help us. Like, these mechanisms have been created over a series of times and years and such in your life. So it's almost like you're a computer and your brain has a like code that it uses, and it's like the go-to code that's been used all the time, and to not use that code is actually work.
It is work, right? You're changing the programming, and also it's like the fear of, okay, this is the narrative that's happening in my head. Something horrible happened, or maybe not so horrible, but it feels really horrible.
Yeah. Our nervous systems don't know the difference.
No, they don't know
It
the
is
difference.
it is an over-aware security guard who has their first day on the job, but they've actually been here for a long time. But they just like ring the alarm over everything. They're like, oh my god, oh my god.
Yep.
So it feels really real because the other people in the building, you, are like, holy crap, I have to like respond to this.
You know what's interesting? When you're describing we do have that security guard in us, and we can be stuck in a state of hyper awareness, hyper arousal for a while, but also we then crash. Yeah. So we're stuck in hypo. So I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but you're going through, maybe you're studying, or maybe you have to work 7 days in a row. And then as soon as you are done with that experience, you have no energy for anyone or anything. You have big plans to enjoy your weekend. All you do is sleep the entire time. That's crashing. You're hitting hypo. And the reason why it fluctuates in that way is because, again, we're trying to get back into that zone of regulation. You want to get back into your window that you can hear the birdies chirping and see the sun shining out of.
Yeah. So the window of tolerance, more specifically, can be described as calm, cool, collected, connected, present. We're in the moment that we're living. So sometimes you might notice this feeling, like for me, when I'm doing my yoga asana practice, like the physical embodiment of the postures, I can find presence in my body. For other people, they might find presence in their body through breath. They might find presence in their body through like a meal, a nice warm tasty meal, because it's got the colors, the smells, the textures, the tastes. Like
that's me. And the cooking of the meal too is such an awesome experience, because you're right, it's full sensory. You're also bottom-up processing, which means using your body to be able to process your emotions.
Yep.
Cooking, chefing it up.
Yoga in. Either, whatever you're doing. And I think, like, Jen is using the conversation of, like, bottom up. Like, we can think of similar to, like, a temperature or similar to, like, a window, like, whether we're on the under or the over part of that. There's ways for us to help our body shift. And it takes time to, like, learn what our body needs, because we can also shift ourselves too far back into, like, hyper, or we can shift right through that window of tolerance into the hypo. And that is when it can feel probably pretty damning, pretty dreadful.
Yeah.
That we are here again, like in this place.
So wait, tell me, how would you get stuck in the hypo? You're trying to do something to help yourself.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, so if you're in hypo, you want to do something activating.
Yeah, so you can do a breath work that is invigorating, or we can do a high intensity workout, or...
Yeah, so what's an example of something that gets you too activated?
So, for example, something that can get us too activated is, say we are doing those breath skills. Say that we are doing a fast-paced type breath. If we overdo that, that can actually be similar to hyperventilating, and that can induce a panic attack. So we just went from a numbing place to a really high saturation point in terms of what our body's feeling. So that can be the opposite effect.
Oh my gosh, the numb to panic, that's...
The numb to panic pipeline is real, y'all.
It's real.
It is real.
All right, so then the inverse, right? So
yeah,
I'm hyperactivated. I want to be hypo-activated. What's something that I can do that might be overstepping, that might send me crashing down into the icy depths of hypoactivation?
So one example that I think is really potent in this time is medical marijuana, for instance. If you use medical marijuana to help you when you are feeling hyperactivated and you use too much, you use more than what you're supposed to for your dose, you can make yourself be in like that induced hypo place, or we can like kind of put ourselves into a place of numbness because now we're not feeling, because we've disconnected from our experience. We're not using it to plug in. We've overdone it, and now we are, because that could go both ways too. I think with medical marijuana, we can go into the hyper or the hypo if we're not using it in a medically, consistent way. If that's how you're using it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Does any examples come to your mind? That's the one that first came to mind. I
think that's a great example. I think one that could be really applicable that many people don't know they're doing is coming home and first thing you do is you sit on the couch and turn on Netflix.
Yeah.
You're not going to get up.
Yeah.
You gave your body what it needed. And I think because in that moment you really needed the crash, your body just stays kind of nested. Why would you get up, right? And that's when it becomes really hard. You're like grasping for that windowsill, pulling yourself up so you can kind of like get a glimpse back into the regulation. Sometimes it feels a little good to marinate.
Yeah. And like, this isn't to say that like there isn't value in figuring those things out. Like, I think there's such value in trial and error and being willing to try these things toward regulation is hard. It's different. It's not your norm. If we're speaking in like the brain, like these pathways that have been created are really calcified, which means that they have been used a lot.
Yeah. So basically, we see all the time, oh, I'm home from work, I'm gonna put on TV and chill for the night. And that's great. It works for a lot of people, works for everyone at times. However, if we're feeling stuck and it's not helping us bounce back into
comfortable, we're safe. Like, I think safety is a really important component of the window of tolerance. Like, and safety, I think, again, if we were going to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like, it is one of those basic tenets, like having our needs met. So, like, if your needs aren't being met, like, you don't have food, you don't have shelter, you don't have access to resources that should be available to you, it makes sense that you're dysregulated, and it makes sense that your window of tolerance is going to look different and feel maybe different than someone who does have those needs met.
Yeah. All right, so I think it's important that we say exactly what is hyper and hypoarousal, like what are the symptoms, right? So angry outbursts, fear, anxiety, feeling emotionally overwhelmed, panicking, hypervigilance, and that's like the security guard reference that Ronnie was talking about. You just need to be on highest alert, and it's exhausting, it's draining.
And that's hyperarousal.
Hyperarousal. There also might be some tight muscles and deer in headlights type of freeze response.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And to explain that, like, for those who might not understand that reference, like, when you drive up on a deer, like, sometimes they will stand and just stare instead of moving. So it's similar to, like, they're processing what's happening almost in real time, but they're frozen. Like, they aren't making a move.
Which, for me, is analysis paralysis at the grocery store. It's on me to pick dinner. There's 1,001 things available at the grocery store, and I can't make up my freaking mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the hyperactivation examples of what we experience.
Yeah. So the other would be the hypo-activation, which is also called the freeze response. This is where you might feel numb.
Oh, freeze is hyper.
Hyper is fight flight.
Interesting.
Can freeze be both? Because in hypo aroused, there's the feigned death response, dissociation, not present, unavailable, shut down, memory loss, you're disconnected, no display of emotions. Like, that's freeze.
That's the freeze response.
Yeah.
This is so interesting. Okay, so on the website for NICAM, Dan Siegel, the guy who made up window tolerance, it says often clients who experience hyperarousal are stuck on, which can make it difficult to form healthy sleeping habits, manage emotions, and concentrate effectively. Physically, their body may seem tense and on the brink of explosion, which can eventually result in angry outbursts and hostility. Okay, so the freeze is that they're frozen in that hyper. Yeah.
Okay, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. Okay, so what's that look like in the hypo? Wait, really quick. So interesting. We were talking about this before. You are in the hyperarousal for too long, and you crash. You go down into hypo.
Yeah.
Now, look at that. Learn something new every day.
Crazy. So with the hypo arousal, this would be like shut down. So here is where we see like a feigned death response, dissociation, we are not present, you might be unavailable, shut down, maybe you're having memory loss, losing gaps of time, disconnected, maybe you're even just like running on autopilot, so like just getting your shit done. Maybe you're not displaying a lot of emotions, you feel kind of flat, you're feeling separate from yourself, maybe from your feelings, maybe from emotions. Like feelings could be in like your body sense, emotions being like your emotions. So yeah, that's the freeze response.
Cool.
In terms of hypo arousal. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think something that's important to think about too, as we're going to start talking about what we can do to help ourselves sit with the discomfort of being out of our zone, our comfort zone, our window of tolerance. And hold on, what was I going to say? Oh, I remember. It's important that we mention the levels of distress that we experience. So, for example, what that means is I could be at a 1. I can be totally cool, totally chilling, and that's comfortable. But then when I get to a 6, I'm getting pretty close to getting ready to, like, you know, I wanna throw a little pillow. I'm getting pretty pissed off in this conversation that I'm having through text right now.
Yeah.
So it's about learning, like, okay, this is what my level of comfort is. This is when I start to feel hyperactivated. This is what happens when I get pushed down into hypo. And the reason why it's important to know your levels of distress is so that you know where to meet yourself and what to expect once you get there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And there's ways that you can do this for yourself. Like, I think something that I do in session is like a literal thermometer. So you just do 1 through 10, 1 through 100. It's really up to you what like number system feels right for your experience. And then you define them. What does a 1 feel like? What does a 2 feel like? What does a 10 feel like? And like you might kind of find them organically as you experience them, and you can kind of write down those experiences to catalog them for yourself. But like Jen said, once you kind of have that understanding, there are specific ways that you can target each part of your distress, from like all the way from 1 to 10, which is what I would assume for a lot of people is like a panic attack or overwhelm or just like, really like distressing, you know, the highest level of distress, whatever that is. Yeah. This also, in We All Have Parts, which is an internal family systems guide, there is a really great pictorial of the window of tolerance, and it describes how when we are going towards hyperarousal, we are going into our sympathetic nervous system. So that is directly involved with fight or flight responses. And that's exactly what Jen described to us. And then when we are going down towards the hypoarousal, that's when it is our parasympathetic nervous system, which is literally rest and digest. So with both of these, you might imagine like a wave going up and down, kind of like a frequency wave, whatever that feels like for you. And that's like, imagine the window of tolerance is between those two. So you might kind of just be swimming between the two, essentially. Like you're diving into one, diving into other. And like we said before, it's pretty exhausting. It can be really, really exhausting.
Yeah. It's almost like you can imagine your window of tolerance. So we've described the window several times now. You have your window in front of you. On the floor is like a sheet of ice. And on the ceiling, we've got fiery flames. Right? And those, I mean, we're in the same room.
Yeah.
Right? So you can imagine the amount of discomfort we feel bouncing between the two.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of times we just sit on our phones. If we're starting to feel anything uncomfortable,
Disconnect.
we disconnect. This includes not having to make eye contact in certain situations. We grab our phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting
Sleeping.
a scary email. I'm taking a nap.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to go watch my comfort show and zone out while I'm also looking at my phone, scrolling, and also looking at this, that, and the other.
Or I'm going to call a friend and rant about it and do nothing to actually solve the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I say that because I do it. But not anymore. I'm evolving. I'm working
And
on
I
it.
also used to do it. I remember there was a time when my nervous system, like when it was dysregulated, I needed an external source to help with that. And it definitely is a practice to sit with those things safely, like what of them you can. It is a practice.
I feel like we're gatekeeping at this point. We need to start talking.
You're so right. You're so right. This practice, I keep alluding to it. Like, what is this practice?
Or like not anymore. I know what to do now, right?
I swear we're not like a pyramid scheme. We are not trying to like get you to buy in to this thing, and we're not gonna like keep it from you. So like, all right.
I feel like this is even more. So no more gatekeeping.
All right, let's go.
All right, so I'm looking at my notes here, and I have what do I do, and then I have resourcing, which is what I would really do before and after, things that you do throughout the day to make sure that you're taken care of. But
Let's define resourcing, because I think in my work, when I bring up resourcing, sometimes it can feel like bigger than it is. And I think that also happens because social media paints a picture that like all of our things need to be like big and grand and fucking long and hard and expensive because capitalism, but whatever. So what do I do?
Yeah.
We love resourcing. So resourcing is a lot of things. Resourcing is brushing your teeth. Resourcing is taking a shower. Resourcing is washing your hands after you go to the bathroom. Resourcing is eating a meal. Resourcing is talking to your friend on the phone. Resourcing is walking outside.
Resourcing is standing up every hour.
Resourcing is putting on a fresh pair of pajamas. Resourcing is not putting on a fresh pair of pajamas and staying in bed.
Resourcing is taking off that way too tight hair tie off of your wrist.
Ugh. And taking your bra off at the end of the day.
The point is, it's looking around your environment, looking at yourself, and saying, what resources are available to me to help myself feel like myself?
Yeah. Because the reality of the situation is Jen nor I are going to be able to give you a 100% fix. What we have found and what we can help you to find is cumulative 3%ers. You find something that helps you feel 3% better, and then you just do it.
Or even if it's 3% effort.
Yeah.
And then you get there and you feel like fearless. You can do whatever you want to do. Right? So we talk about yoga often. We both practice yoga. Ronnie's a yoga instructor. But getting onto the mat, that's like, I stare at it sometimes. I'm sitting at my desk and I turn, I'm staring at it. And I'm like, I just need to get into child's pose and I will begin. I just need to get into child's pose, right? That 3% effort. And then it's the standing. It's the hardest part when you're in hypo. It's the hardest part.
Yeah.
So no more gatekeeping.
So that's just to define resourcing. So like it's not, we are not expecting or telling you to like get a regimen of like 30 plus skincare things and that's your resourcing.
And this is the beauty, right? My number one, sighing.
Mine too. Number one, sigh. And then even like better, like not better, but like if you want to take that a step further, Jen and I were talking about this before.
3%.
You take that in breath and you suck in just a little bit more air. Hold it for 2 and then release. It feels so good. I feel a release. And for those of you homies who cannot, or it is just like not actually helpful to take a sigh or a deep breath or something because it's dysregulating. I also sometimes, if we are able to see, we can look over each of our shoulders, left to right, 180. So we're just looking around our space.
And what are you looking for?
We're just taking notice. Looking around at the things. Maybe you look for colors. Maybe you look for textures. But we're noticing. We're just taking a moment to let our body know, I'm safe.
Yeah, and this is orienting yourself into the space you're in.
Yes.
So basically, oh, that car actually did not hit me. I'm still in my lane. I'm still driving. Oh, shoot. Ronnie's still on the phone.
Yeah, they're still here.
Yeah.
And like enter in maybe gratitude even. Like I love a good moment of gratitude after something rattling. Like, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful to be safe. I'm so grateful for this car, for holding me. I'm so grateful for the, the sky for staying there and letting me be.
Yeah. So I think what we've talked about so far, the sigh and the double breath, these things really help once we get to this really uncomfy zone that kind of outlines your whole window. Kind of the dread, the shame, the guilt, the uncomfortable feelings that you have to face within yourself.
Yeah.
And this is where these tools really help. So again, we don't just pick up the phone. We don't just start dissociating, disconnecting.
And we also, like, there's again, when we define our levels of distress, like what is our tolerance? We're not going to wait until we're at a 10. If we can. Because, like, we're not always going to be able to know that we're at a 10. Sometimes it doesn't happen because maybe we're not there in that awareness yet. But, like, we're not waiting until a 10 to try on that 3%er.
Oh, yeah, no. This is, like, a daily practice that you can do.
Yeah, like, we don't have to just wait until someone cuts us off in traffic. Like, that's the beautiful thing. It's like resourcing works before, during, and after. Like, I would say. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, too, is, like, what do I need right now? Yeah. So let's say first thing in the morning I wake up, and I actually wake up with a good night of sleep.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what do I need right now? I'll put on a really good upbeat song. That right there is resourcing. I'm connecting to the emotions I'm feeling because I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling good, and I feel good about myself, right? So as I'm doing my morning routine, I'm just jamming. Yeah. That right there is resourcing. And
also, like, another form of resourcing could be, like, if you're someone who likes to make playlists, you specifically tailor a playlist for, like, your good vibe morning, or like you're like making a tailored mix for yourself, so it's like a forethought, like past you is loving this you, like giving current you this gift of like, hey, here's all these gems that really like are your hype man when you can't be.
Yeah. No, also knowing your zones of regulation, level of distress. I know that, okay, if it's a Tuesday and it's a 5-day work week, Tuesday I am tired. I'm cooked. Yeah. I'm gonna order in some food. You know what? I'm probably gonna be even more tired tomorrow too, because it's only Tuesday and I feel this tired. I'm gonna order a little something extra here, maybe a little appetizer, a little something to snack on, so that if I don't have the energy to cook, I do have something available for me. This also could look like making sure I grab a couple cup noodles from the grocery store. Yeah. So that I have something in the house to cook.
Easy, pre-made. I also wanted to like do a little bit of a link here, but Jen and I will be curating our own playlists and linking them underneath. So if making your own hype list is a little hard, you can borrow some of mine. So.
And Ronnie's the ultimate playlist maker. So.
Tis true. So definitely take that moment, but absolutely I think Jen is really on the money with kind of being able to zoom out. I think it can be so overwhelming when we're just constantly in the grind and the everyday stuff. Like if we can have that breath, that pause, and like kind of zoom out and take take inventory. Like, what does my week look like this week? Is there any space for grace? Like, is there any space for me to take care of myself? And like like Jen said, like taking care of ourselves looks different in different days. So like, you know, some days it might be getting out for a little walk. Some days it might be just opening a window, like literally opening a window and getting some fresh air from outside. Like that could be it. If we are fortunate enough to have access to fresh air, you know.
Holding on to the cup of coffee for like 10 seconds before actually taking your first sip.
Yeah. Letting your hands feel that warmth. So nice. Okay. So that's kind of, I would say, some of the resourcing we do. Let's see.
I think something important that we can talk about, what are the roadblocks to actually being able to use these skills? Like, we're as we're talking about all of this, we're saying, oh, we sigh when we're feeling activated.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things help, right? But being realistic here, like, I brought up shame.
Yeah.
Emotions like that, right? As soon as I recognize I did something that I didn't agree with, that I don't like, that isn't helping me reach my own goals for whatever reason, right? My core beliefs tell me you're not successful. So if I get sick and I am stuck on the couch, I'm going to feel like this is illuminated. I am so unsuccessful, I can't do anything. It's going to shove me down even further into hypo-activation.
Yeah. I also would like to come at this from like an internal family systems lens, because that's kind of like my bread and butter, as they say.
Ooh, butter my bread.
I would love to. So that core belief is also similar to, so in IFS we talk about parts. And this is a part that's maybe a protector. And this protector part and it could be like, it might not be a protector part. It could be like a burdened part. It might be one of your wounded little guys. And this part that's saying, oh my God, you did something wrong, this, that, and the other, is a part that's trying to help us in some way. Like they have a job, they are protecting us in some way. And while it's painful, it is an attempt at safety or an attempt at regulating. Albeit not always the most cozy, comfy.
May I?
Yeah.
For an example, how about this thought? What were you thinking? Know your place. Why would you ever be able to do something like this? Of course you messed up. It's that parent trying to help you not have to face challenges. Stay in your lane. I'm not saying it's good parenting.
We're just saying it's some kind of parenting.
It impacts you. It influences the way that you think.
Probably feeling hurt by some of these words, this language. But I think, Jen, like it's so important to bring up that part of us that does come up when we try something new or when we fuck up or when we fumble. That voice can be really, really loud, and it can be demotivating. It doesn't motivate, despite its best efforts. Like, it does motivate you to not fail. It does motivate you to be fearful, but it doesn't always motivate you to step out into the unknown. And I think the other important part of like where we're at right now is like the reality of the world we're living in is that social media likes to give us a lot of fixes and ideas and ways to make yourself better or to make yourself different or to like cut parts of you away. And I think this is less about cutting ourselves up and taking away parts of ourselves and manufacturing this thing that's packageable and nice. And it's more about like, we are like granite and we are chipping away, and not even chipping away in a sense of like we're taking away things, but we're just like kind of seeing what's underneath. We're like, look at all this shit that we've kind of taken because society or someone has been like, this is yours, this is what we do, this is our expectation. And it like kind of has like enveloped the us that is us in this case. And like we are like shedding light on the you that is you. And what that means is like all of you. So no one's asking in this space for you to take away the things that you think are bad about yourself. Like all of you is welcome here.
And that's what being able to stay in that zone of regulation, it's going to turn into a superpower, honestly, because you're able to experience all of the internalized hurt and shame and sit with it and recognize I can scream and yell. I can ball myself up in a blanket and stay there for hours. Or I can recognize this part of me and accept, hey, you're trying to help.
Yeah.
You're an unhelpful little bitch, but you're here. Welcome.
Yeah. And it's like, we hear you. We totally love and accept what you're trying to do here. We totally see it, but can I take the driver's seat? Like, can we trust ourselves?
And this is my biggest roadblock. It's what I'm working on for myself this year, being able to trust myself in these moments.
Yeah.
Because
and
I'll
what
tell
does
you
that
what.
take? Practice.
It does take practice.
Like, you don't need to try on 75 different modalities of help. Can we continue to try even just one thing? Like, could we commit to the process of mindfulness? Like, I'm not just going to do mindfulness when I'm in the throes of my anxiety. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to drink that cup of coffee. I'm going to sip it and savor it and be mindful of it.
Oh, yeah.
Because then that practice translates through the experiences that we're having, both difficult, challenging, positive, rewarding, etc., etc.
Yeah. Also, screaming babies. Craziness around you with that cup of coffee. You have that first inhale of your coffee and the warmth in your hands. What's happening auditory-wise, it's all right. It doesn't matter, right? You're able to connect with yourself in those tiny, tiny, small moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had something that I wanted to go back to.
Yeah.
I didn't write it down.
Dang, Flabbit.
I know. I was feeling inspired by... Oh, yeah. Okay. So we were talking about... So the roadblock of trusting myself. Oh, okay, I remember.
Yes.
So Ronnie... Yes. Fabulous, fabulous Ronnie... is able to love every little part of themselves.
Okay, let's not paint too many pictures. We're working on it. Working in progress always.
Yes, and you have that language and you're able to offer it to yourself. For me, I have that roadblock.
Yeah.
Of saying, I don't love that. And I think this is so important too. Mindfulness doesn't have to be the sitting with a cup of coffee. It doesn't need to be the white girls on Instagram version of mindfulness.
Literally, no.
It doesn't need to be the beautiful yogic tradition of mindfulness that so many of us appreciate. It can be, I am so uncomfortable with how I feel. This is so distressing. The reason it's mindfulness is because you're honoring how you're feeling and you're literally being
naming
mindful.
it.
You're naming it.
Yeah.
Name, don't shame.
We
right?
also have, like, we don't have to force ourselves through all of our experiences. Like, sometimes that saying of, like, the only way through is through. It's like, sometimes we just have to let our, like, fucking honor those feelings. They're so valid. It's like, if someone cuts you off and you're angry, yeah, anger is valid. That's, like, it's annoying. It's frustrating. Like, you could have gotten hurt.
Yeah. In my work, I teach the first step is naming it, is being able to say, I'm so angry. You can still yell, I'm so angry. I'm so angry. This is so frustrating. And what that does is you're honoring how you're feeling, you're naming it, you're recognizing it. And then it's also, you get there so much faster. Okay, what do I do? You're actually you're through all of the narratives and the words that circle around the anger that you're feeling, and you're already jumping ahead to, I'm angry, right? So I guess I answered my own question here, right? Roadblocks, just, you gotta name it, you gotta sit with it. And now this is the part 2, sitting with it. How long can you do it?
Yeah.
5 seconds? 5 minutes?
Building up a tolerance, honestly.
You're building up your tolerance. You're expanding your window
Literally
as you
your
can.
tolerance. Like, that's the whole point, is like, can we help ourselves, A, be in the window of tolerance longer, and B, can we be with the discomfort? How long can we be with it? 3 seconds is longer than yesterday. Hell yeah. That's great. Love it.
Absolutely. And there are so many different resources too that you can find on YouTube. One that I really enjoy is the container exercise. It comes from EMDR. I also like to think about it, so the idea is you have a container that you can put all of the discomfort into, put a lid on it, right? It's something that can close, but also it's something that you can open at a later time. And it's just even practicing having your container. For me, it's hard. I feel limited having a container for the feelings and actually thinking about putting it in. So I had like a little bonus treat for myself. I imagine that my container is a box in the middle of a wooded forest. There are pine needles on the ground, the sun's coming through, illuminating the forest floor, and I just immediately already feel more comfort as I'm entering that scene. And then I see the box. And then I say, okay, It's funny. I feel like a little bit witchcraft. I'm like, dispel, get away from me, you uncomfortable feelings. I'm tired of these feelings. I don't want to feel this way anymore. I will reflect on this later.
Yeah.
And the discomfort you're hearing in my voice now is probably similar to what you'll feel. It's very real. It's not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this, like again, practice it's called practice because it is. Like it's a showing up, it's a doing, and it's not a doing that's perfect. There's no concept of that. It's not a perfect thing. It's just a practice. Mm-hmm. And it will be challenging, but I also offer to you that so are the feelings. So is the discomfort of living with them and bottling them up and not dispelling them or offering them space to be seen and held and appreciated. Like these feelings give you context for like life, and the nice thing is when we can begin to get relationship with them, it starts to make our worlds more dimensional. Like we're able to just have more prefrontal cortex. Like our brain is just on board more. We're present. Like
do you have those times where like, wow, I have no memory of that year or that month?
Oh my God, yeah. Like I have said before in like my own personal therapy that like in the most recent years of my life are the most present that I've been, and it's because I'm in environments that are safe. I live in a home that's predictable. It's safe. I have control over my environment, and that's a privilege that I haven't had my whole life. So I want to hold space for those of you who are still surviving the environments that are harming you, and by, you know, doing the best you can with the means that you've been given. Yeah.
Right, that small sip of coffee, that safe space.
You can imagine it too. Like I love, like in EMDR, there's also creating that safe space. So like not only just the container, but like, can we like imagine like what your most cozy space is? It can be something like you've never been before. It can be somewhere that's like as familiar to you as the back of your palm. Like it can be whatever you want, but like the practice of even like imagining that safety and creating like this internal sense of that.
Oh yeah.
That is your compass. That is like, once we get a felt sense and a relationship to our felt sense, like that is your navigating system. Like when like what Jen said with your anger, when we are able to identify that anger that we're having, what does that anger tell us? What is going on? What is this, like, what is my emotion telling me?
And I think the most beautiful thing to you about all of this is that we feel so alone. It feels so challenging. How can I even overcome this, right?
Yeah.
Being able to learn how to regulate these emotions, even for a second, you're learning that you'll always be there for yourself. You don't need anybody but you. You don't need anything but you, with you, your presence, with yourself. And you'll be able to get through what you're going through. I had someone say to me recently, even if the worst case scenario happens, I'm still there for myself on the other side. No matter what. Even if it sucks, I'm going to be there.
And that's also so in alignment with like internal family systems. Like the reason these parts don't have trust with the self is because in the past the self has abandoned in order to, like when we go into that hypo and we check out, like we've like aborted ship in a not conscious way, but like when we, like that's the whole point of IFS, is beginning to get into relationship with these parts and to learn and to teach them like, hey, like you can trust me. I do have this. I am the adult now. Like I might not have I didn't know what I was doing before, but I know better now. Like I'm more able to adapt and like take the wheel essentially. And those parts are there to protect you. Like we know that they can do the thing. But it's like, come on guys. Let me give driving a try. let me try it out. And it takes time because those parts, again, you're in a relationship with yourself. If for the first 20 plus years of your life you've abandoned yourself, or you have turned to things externally to you to try and feel better, whatever that might be, it makes sense that it's going to take time to develop that relationship with yourself, because it didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to change overnight.
Beautiful. Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so I think it's really important that we now explicitly state if you're feeling hypo-aroused.
Yes.
This is what you can do to try to get back into a place of regulation. Singing.
Humming.
Using your voice to do something else than talk or be monotone.
Singing in the car, my guy. Such a great way to regulate.
Also, stuck on the couch. I need to get up. I am stuck in the couch.
Like talking to yourself. Like narrating. Like, oh, dang, we got to go do this thing. Let's go. Come on, buddy. Like, we're going to go do this.
Oh, yeah. Favorite one of mine, behavioral activation. If I can't get out of bed, start simplest movements. I'm going to change my posture, right? So I'm going to straighten my legs, really feel them, and then lift them up. Put my ankles under my knees. It's the worst thing ever. Ooh, try some diaphragmatic breathing. Hand on chest, other hand on your belly if you're able. Really feeling your tummy lifting as you're taking in a breath, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to, again, like we said this before, but like if you're someone where breath is more activating in terms of like dysregulating your system, totally okay not to use it. It does not work for everybody.
Yeah, that's just both of us, our preference is the bottom up breath work, things like that, right?
Yeah.
So grain of salt here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but also other things that you can do outside of the getting your body going, activating your body is behavioral activation. Other things that you can do as well is trying to think about it in detail. What am I feeling? How do I want to be feeling?
Yeah.
So what this can look like is I feel numb. How do I want to feel? Awake. I have to go to work.
Yeah. And also like gentle reminder that sometimes we are disconnected from our body's narratives. So like we might not know that we're hungry because we're assuming that we're going to feel like tummies rumbling.
I did this last night. It was so funny. We were driving around. We were behind on schedule. We always schedule our hangouts to optimize every single second we spend together. And I was like, oh, I'm not really hungry. I don't know if I'm going to like feel like going somewhere to eat. And what do you know? 10 minutes later, I was like, I think I'm hungry. And Ronnie was like, what did I tell you?
Yep. Well, my friend was saying that she was tired. And one of the ways that our body can tell us that we're hungry is we're tired. Like, food is energy. Sometimes we might find that we have a headache. Maybe you're hungry. Like, it's not to say that food is the answer to everything, but sometimes I think food is a really great way to regulate because it does stimulate our parasympathetic nervous system if that's what we're trying to get into, so that rest and digest. And if we're feeling hangry, sometimes we need a fucking snack. Like if you're angry, maybe you need to go pause and go grab a snack.
Yeah. So, according to Dan Siegel and iCamp's website, how to get out of the hyperarousal, right? So if you're at the max point, which could be freeze, you're frozen, you're stuck in there, the diaphragmatic breathing can also really help.
Also temperature.
Yeah.
Ice cubes in the hands, cold clementine, freeze it in the freezer. You know, stuff like that can be really helpful. Warm shower, bath, splash of cold water on the face.
Yeah, I love that you said that because a lot of times you think, oh, I have to do an ice bath. No, even just getting in a nice cozy tub or like a nice hot shower, that change in temperature, your nervous system is going to be cued into that new sense of, oh, alertness, what's going on here?
It's a different sensory experience.
Yeah, the different sensory experience is going to say to your amygdala, we need to reassess here. Your PFC, prefrontal cortex, is going to have the opportunity to hop in.
You can step outside without a jacket on.
Oh,
I love the practice of stepping outside, and like this can be like a dual one, like of gratitude as well. Stepping outside long enough just to get like a little chill, and then stepping inside and feeling your body warm up.
Yeah, and remember, because this is when you're angry, so practically speaking, you're really angry, so you run out the front door. That's great. Once you get out there, say thank you. The hard part's already done. I removed from the situation.
Yep.
Right? Thank you. I'm trying to regulate because I know that this is not where I need to be right now.
Absolutely. And once you're regulated and your prefrontal cortex, so that part of your brain, that logical part, is back on, then we can do some logic testing. And the question then might become, was this reaction, like, was this anger proportionate to what just happened? Was this anger relevant to this situation, or was this relevant to the past?
This is the sitting with part, the uncomfortable part, because most often, if the anger is out of proportion, we're going to feel really upset with ourselves and we're not going to think through it more. Most often, it is going to come from a past experience or a triggering experience, even if it is with the person that you're arguing with, right? It could be your current partner. It could be something from 10 years ago that's triggering you. It could be something from the week before, right? It's really important because you recognize, I'm not mad about the spoons that didn't make it into the dishwasher. I'm upset because this happened in the past, and lately I've been thinking about it. Anytime that you don't do something that I was hoping you would do, it reminds me of this past time, right? So,
and that can give us separation. So once we realize if we're like, maybe we're getting in, serious issues with our partner over these kinds of spoons issues, we might notice that we're being activated from a different experience, which is compounding this current one. And sometimes we just need a little space to like be like, okay, you know?
100%.
Yeah.
All right, so now managing your window of tolerance. Like we were saying before, there's 2 different ways that you can go about it. So it can be 1 to 10, with 1 being no distress, or it can be 1 being, it's like 2 degrees outside. It's chilly as heck, right? So you can use a thermometer, but I also have a lot of people in my work who really like using percentages, so 10% up to 100%. So that's up to you of how you want to imagine it. So recognize, what is my window of tolerance? Figure out what causes me to be at 100, what causes me to be at 10 degrees. Where am I most comfortable? Something that's really cool is a lot of times you'll write it out, and you might see, oh, I'm actually like 30, 40 degrees comfortable. That's pretty awesome.
Doable.
Yeah. If you're familiar with degrees of freedom, what that looks like in statistics, I have 40 degrees of freedom. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and freedom is choice. Freedom is like, in like the yogic tradition, they talk about like breath being tied to liberation, because a lot of times you might notice that when your system is dysregulated, you might hold your breath. Like I used to do that a lot. Like, oh crap, I'm holding my breath. But the freedom to breathe, regulated, and be in control of that, to use that as a means to like, and whatever that is, like whatever that connection is, like to be in control of your body, to be in control of your mind, to like, not even in control, but just to be able to work with, to be a unit, to connect the body, the mind, and the spirit, and all those things is like powerful.
Absolutely. It also reminds me of something super important, that no matter, again, it's the feeling of I could be alone in this, right? Or even if someone else did something to me that has caused me to be in this state of constant dysregulation, you have the freedom to choose yourself. No matter how disconnected you want your brain and your body to be, you have a brain, you have a body.
Yeah.
And they're always going to be there for you, and it's choosing to tap into them. You are your primary responsibility. I'll say it again. You are your primary responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if not you, then who? Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you can also widen your window of tolerance, which is what we've been saying, right? Making sure that you have your resourcing. So I know I'm going to have a 12-hour shift. I'm going to make sure that I have my yoga mat rolled out already for me. So I have to step on it. There's no way around it.
And not even that, like, even like not the have to, at least not for me. I just like the visual cue. So like I leave my yoga mat out. I have one downstairs and one in my office, because like both are helpful to me because they're in my vision. If it's already rolled out, I'm so much more likely just to walk over and do that child's pose, or to do a forward fold, or to like just do a little movement. And I think I've also freed myself up from the trap of things needing to be a certain way. So like I used to feel like I needed to do a 60-minute practice, or I needed to do a 30-minute practice, or I needed to look a certain way. But once I freed myself up from like my asana practice having to be a certain time, I've allowed myself to have it at any point. Like if I want to do a little thing here and a little thing there, and like that helps me ground into that moment and that presence, like using that physical posture, that's just as beneficial, if not more, than the showing up for that 60-minute. Because those little moments matter so much more, in my opinion.
They do, because you're forcing yourself to see yourself as, I am still doing yoga, even if it's for
doing it.
2 minutes, right? And that's expanding the window, releasing the expectation that you have to be able to do something correctly.
Permission. Give yourself permission to do things the way that work for you.
Also, having the trust and faith in yourself that you can sit and watch a 40-minute episode of TV while you're eating your dinner and get up and walk away from the TV. Challenge yourself, push yourself. You know you can do it, even if that means moving to the floor.
Yes, and this is building that relationship with yourself. Making commitments and following through is trust.
That is
you
trust.
saying, I'm going to watch this and eat my meal, and that's it, and then I'm going to go do my next thing. powerful. Like showing yourself like, hey, look, this is me showing up. Like that is you walking the walk. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Gonna get more into the whelm realm. Of course.
Oh yeah, we need a part 2.
Like I feel like we've just had like a really heavy kind of conversation.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
it would be nice to like let's take a pause. Like let's come back to this. I think yeah.
I was really proud that super casually Bo Burnham was referenced today.
Yeah.
White woman's Instagram.
A white woman's Instagram.
What a good conversation. We dove into the window of tolerance. We explored how to navigate between the hyper and the hypo-activation.
Yeah, that dance of feeling like overwhelmed, underwhelmed, and then just plain whelmed.
Yeah, mind-blowing stuff, right? Recognizing our unique windows is a game changer, and it helps us stay balanced between the ups and the downs.
Absolutely. Being aware of our fluctuations is the first step in building resilience.
So, as we bid you farewell, remember, self-awareness is your compass, guiding you back to your center. Understanding your own rhythms is a true strength to help you navigate your emotions and reactions.
So, join us next time as we dive deeper into the human experience. But until then, breathe, find balance, and know that you are not alone on this journey.
Love this episode? Share it with a friend who wants to ride the waves of awareness with us.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay mindful, stay present, and keep exploring the extraordinary world within. And until then, catch you on the trails.
Yay!